What is up guys, it's me Lachlan. I'm here today with a brand new Battlefield 4 video, and today we are back with the Lock and Loadout series, the series in which I give you guys the best classes that I can think of to use in game, utilize and take to the field. Now today, for the first time ever in the series, we're going to be using a class which is themed. Now these appear to be fairly popular on other YouTubers channels. I decided to port it over today. I'm also going to be running a few videos with other Battlefield 4 based YouTubers in order to make some of the best classes around. Now today's Lock and Loadout consists of the Czech Republic Army. We're going to have a look at the background of their military operations, what equipment and weapons they use overall, and translate that over into Battlefield 4 to give you guys a really good class to use. Now today's class is specifically inspired by the Czech Republic's Special Forces and the class that they use and loadouts that they use in the field. Now everything that you're going to see in game today is actually utilized and commissioned by their military authority, and most of it does translate fairly well into Battlefield 4. As you all know, DICE take real good pride into translating weapons in game and making sure that they behave a similar way, which is why you can understand why the class I've chosen today is indeed used by their special forces. Now the class we're running with today is indeed engineer based and primarily focused on close quarters infantry combat. Now the weapons we'll be running with is the CZ-3A1, which is actually an abbreviation of the actual commissioned weapon, the CZ Scorpion Evo 3A1, which is used in real life by the Czech Republic Special Forces. Below that, we're going to be using the CZ-75 pistol. Now this is actually commissioned under their small arms / sidearms section and is used regularly in military and special forces operations. And beyond that, we're going to be using a baseline system for the engineer class with a few interchangeable variables dependent on the map or mode that you're using. Now we're going to run with an MK153 small because I feel as though it's fit for purpose. It's usable in almost any mode, including Team Deathmatch itself, as well as the better vehicular based modes, and could be really effective when coming up against vehicles or large clusters of enemies in the engineer class. We're also going to be using the repair tool to help out with any other vehicular based systems, however feel free to swap and interchange that as you feel necessary. And finally, for the grenades, we're going to be running with an RGO impact / smoke grenade system. Now the reason for that is because the special forces widely use close range charges in order to blow out doors, in order to take care of infantry in a large room, and also use smoke grenades as a use of a tactical resource when using interchangeable thermal settings between the darker settings and the lighter settings. The smoke grenades of course do create a lot of confusion in game itself, which also acts as a very good cover, especially if you're in a long range map with a short range weapon, which is what we're using today. So before we start speaking tactically and how we're going to use this class, I'm going to give you a rundown of the weapon statistics so you get a better understanding of how this class operates of both the primary weapon and the sidearm. These of course are all provided by Synthetic.com, which is a very reliable and accurate source of information. So to start off with, we're going to have a look at the CZ-3A1, or otherwise known as the CZ Scorpion Evo 3A1, which clocks in with a rate of fire of 1000 RPM, which is extremely high, a bullet muzzle velocity of 370 meters per second, a bullet drop of 15 meters per second, and a max range of 555 meters per second. So the two standout features there are of course the rate of fire, which is incredibly high. It will of course beat most people at a front one-on-one confrontation because of the amount of bullets coming out at such a fast rate, and the other one of course being the slightly downside of that, with the maximum range only clocking in at 555 meters, which really isn't that long, but will of course suffice for medium range confrontations. Now when it comes to the damage model setup of the CZ-3A1, it is a basic PDW standing. It clocks in with a maximum damage of 25 and a minimum damage of 12.1, but what you have to bear in mind when looking at this damage model, although it seems fairly insignificant, is just the amount of bullets and the rate of fire that you have, which makes it seem very efficient. Now although the damage isn't exactly immaculate, the amount of bullets coming out which inflicts that amount of damage is insane. So of course it will make it seem like a very efficient weapon, which it is. Now when we look at the reload times, which of course are fairly important, the bullets in the mag will only cost you 1.9 seconds and an empty mag with 2.4 seconds, so fairly quick times. But the overall clip of the weapon is only 31, so you will find yourself reloading quite a lot. I do recommend leaving at least one bullet in the mag if you can, bearing in mind the RPM on this is incredibly fast, so do do your best to try to leave at least a bullet or two in the chamber, because those fractions of a second really do make a difference here, especially if you're in these close quarters confrontations, moving very quickly and staying on your toes. Now the recoil forces of the weapon are indeed indicated by the arrows on screen, but as you can see, with an upward force of 0.4 and very subtle drag on both sides, the recoil is indeed very controllable for your average player, and more importantly for more precise players it is extremely easy to do. Now I'm using a suppressor on this class today for that average bit of stealth that we can push into any kind of game regardless of it being normal or hardcore, so that suppressor definitely does help when it comes to recoil compensation, and you should probably think about using a suppressor in the loadout as well. Now once you've actually opened fire with the weapon, it will actually drop the recoil by roughly 20% whilst you continue your fire. Now bearing in mind with 31 bullets in the mag, that won't seem like such a significant difference, but the first shot penalty of it is only 3.3. Now I say only because although that is quite a high figure, it's fairly unnoticeable. I doubt you'll have many difficulties trying to handle this weapon, especially with something like a stubby grip, which is what I'm using, or even, for example, an angled grip for that extra bit of stability to get your shots on target. So moving on with the CZ-75 sidearm, which you can see on screen right now is a very basic sidearm setup, with the primary differences being the max damage of 30, which is just above average, and with very little spread whilst aiming down sights or hip firing. Now I don't really want to spend much time on this because the sidearm is really your backup weapon, but if you do want to check out the full statistics and get a good overview of everything that's going on with the sidearm, feel free to check out synthic.com, and that will lead you to the primary source of information that I'm using today. So the main question now is just how to use this loadout, what maps, what modes, and more importantly, how to tactically approach your gameplay. Now when it came to maps, to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter. This gun and class overall will suffice in any kind of map, but when it came to modes, I was sticking to more of the close quarters based confrontations, domination, 5v5 defuse, and team deathmatch, but feel free to take this out into maps such as Operation Metro and Operation Locker when it comes to Conquest Large, Rush, or Obliteration, because those are a lot of close quarters infantry there. But if you do want to get into some vehicular based combat, that will definitely suffice as well from the SMOR and the repair tool, and you'll rack up a ton of points overall. But when it came to the close quarters confrontations, which is primarily what this class is built for, this class is an absolute machine. Now I knowingly went for close quarters engagements. I pushed through the center of the map for them, knowing that I'd confront people at really close ranges with very little room for error. But if you do it correctly, if you use your corners and if you use your laser sights and grenades, you will get a ton of kills. Now these confrontations that were primarily weapon based allowed me to make use of the rate of fire. I got a ton of bullets out in quick succession, used my CZ-75 as a backup, and I generally won most confrontations. My best game amounted to, I believe it was roughly 37-5. That's a rough estimation, but it was a really good game for me. My KD was incredible, my kills per minute was great, and overall it was a good carry for the team. But when we started moving into the more medium range engagements, I had a brief period on Operation Firestorm. I started utilizing the smoke grenades a lot more. Now the smoke grenades are a very effective tool, but I feel are really underused in Battlefield 4. I used them to get into good flanking positions. I didn't even engage people. If I did, I used the suppressed CZ-3A1, and I tried my best to get out of confrontations from long ranges. I utilized the smoke grenades to primarily get around the map without being seen, without causing much of a trouble, because once I got into the points where I'd get behind players and get into and push these close quarters engagements, it worked incredibly well and I got the kills. I managed to flank a good few areas, which made my team move a lot more. It made the gameplay, it made the flow of the game a lot more sufficient for us, and opened up a completely new entrance point for the enemy spawn, and it really does work well overall. Now, if I were the kind of person who would talk about things like vehicular based combat, how to use it there, I just primarily say go for the repairs and go for the actual vehicle destroys and vehicle disables with the SMOR. The SMOR is a very good versatile weapon, and the repair tool can rack you up a ton of points. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope you pick up this class and really utilize it for those team deathmatch situations, and hopefully find a new weapon which you know and love. I mean, it's tough to find weapons that you can use properly on Battlefield 4, which was the general idea of this series, giving people some fresh ideas to use and giving people some new weapons to have a go at. Now you may notice in today's video that the video quality overall has been dramatically improved. I am using my Elgato now, thanks to the PlayStation 4 update, so you guys will see lots more high quality HD, possibly even 1080p at a later point, variation of content, which should be really good to use, and I'm looking forward to recording a lot more over the next coming weeks. So guys, it's been me, Lachlan. As I mentioned earlier, I hope this helped you find a newfound weapon, and as always, thank you for watching, and I will see you again in another Battlefield 4 video.